to record now. All right, we are now recording, and you know what? I don't see a minute taker, but I send her the recording, and she'll make minutes out of it. So I think we're good.
Excellent. All right, I'll call the meeting of the Heartland School Board to order at 6:04 p.m. And let me just bring my agenda up here so I know what to do. Let's see. So let's see. Does anybody have any changes or additions to the agenda?
I do not.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead then and approve the minutes from our May 17th meeting? Has everybody had a chance to look at those?
I think you were all here too.
Yep. Everybody good with going ahead and approving? All right.
Just need a motion.
I motion to approve them.
Wait. Any seconds?
Looks like Colleen might be the only one to second. So.
Second, I was hunting for my mute button.
Colleen is the second. All in favor of approving the minutes from the May 17th meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. And let's move on to public participation or announcements. Do we have any public here who would like to join in or make announcements?
You're going to do the end of year activities, Christine, during your presentation, right? Okay, good.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So I think we're ready to move on to the principal's report. If you want to go ahead, Christine. And
I would love to. I'm going to present my screen. It won't be terribly long because we just met a few days ago. All right. Okay, can you just confirm that you can see it?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and I sent it to everyone a little bit ago. So here we are, June 1st. Can you believe it? A few more days of school. Couple highlights. We finished up kindergarten registration last week. It went incredibly well. We were outside every day but Friday. Friday was that day that felt like fall. It was pretty cold, so the kids we separated them inside, but parents stayed outside. 22 students at this point, which is pretty typical of the last few years. We usually get a handful or so more before school starts. So we had stations outside. Parents came, they sat, filled out registration paperwork. We were able to photocopy birth certificates, answer questions. The kids all left with a kindergarten tote, which was grant funded. I believe Angie, one of Angie's grants, took care of the funds to buy all the supplies inside. And it was a really fun week. Some of you, I think, took part in our community community grab and go dinner. It was a great success. You can see this might have been, no, this was so we had all the tables out closer to the driveway, and then we watched the sky turn black and the wind picked up and the lightning started. So we moved undercover, and were able to people came, and we were able to safely deliver the meals to their cars, which was really fun, and the meal was delicious. So we hope to be back in person community dinners next year and be able to sit down with people and, have conversations. But there was talk of this was kind of nice. So maybe people like the option of picking up or coming in to sit down like a restaurant. So we'll kind of talk about that next year. Here's my list of end of year activities. David, feel free to chime in if I missed any. So we are having field day, which we're excited about. Miss Deaver stepping up to plan and run little stations by pods. So we're keeping kids still in their pods, but they'll get to participate, which is going to be really fun. Hopefully the weather will be warm because there's lots of water activities planned. We did have a request from 8th graders. They really were hoping that we could do the 8th grade versus staff annual basketball game. And we did get permission from Jim Taft and the school nurse. We can do it. We're going to be outside masked. We can't have fans, but at least the kids will get to play. So they're excited about that. That will be next June 8th, which I believe is Tuesday. Graduation is the 9th at 4. I have a question mark here. I don't know if Nikki's planning to do diplomas or if Colleen, since your kids are graduating, if you're planning to come. So just let me know. We'll need to put it on the program pretty soon. Or both of you can come. Colleen, did you want to say something?
That would be great. Should I email? We'll talk offline.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Totally fine. And you can both be there. I mean, that's been done before. Whatever works for all of you.
I think that Chris would die of fright
Okay.
to stand in front of people. It is not her thing. She's very good at a lot of things. That's not it.
Well, it would be, so normally it's Nikki, the school board chair, and she, we have some sort of system where I hand and she shakes or vice versa. So she can do that, or you could do that because your kids are graduating.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Or sometimes what happens too is, like, if Nikki hands out the diplomas as board chair, then when you're getting really close to Colleen's 8th grader, then Colleen should step up on the stage. I mean, are there any board members not coming to graduation? Okay, so that's good. Everybody will be there.
That was the question of, like, do you want us there? I wasn't sure about numbers and all that kind of stuff.
No,
So,
I
think it's fine. Yeah, I checked with Jim. Staff can go outside. It's not a problem. We checked for inside, and well, we're not asking families if they're vaccinated or not. We know that staff is, I went ahead. It's mostly vaccinated, so they don't count in the count, if that makes sense. The indoor count, if you're vaccinated, you don't count towards, I think it's, I want to say 250 inside. So staff can come. So yes, you can come. More than happy to have all the school board there if they would like to be there to join us. So it's at 4 o'clock on the 9th, hopefully outside, but maybe inside. Yeah, Colleen, if you and Nikki want to just let me know, we can get it on the program.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Okay. June 10th is our last student day, early release at noon. We will have a staff end of year celebration that afternoon. We're going to do a heroes theme because we feel like our teachers are our heroes this year. So we'll do our staff appreciation time in. We honor people that have worked in the school for so many years. We'll do that on that day. June 11th is the last staff day to work in their classrooms, getting things moved and papers filed and whatever needs to be done. And then transition meetings are in the works right now. We have decided that we're not going to assign, we're working on class lists, but still figuring out who's coming back and from home study. So we're going to not share the list with parents until a little bit later in the summer, in case we have to make changes or if things happen. So, David, were there other end of year activities that you wanted to mention?
No, I think you hit them all right. I think that's good. Friday night is the Windsor graduation, but other than that, I think you got it.
Okay, great. Okay, hiring. I inadvertently left one of our teachers off the list for your approval last month. His name is Hayden Anderson. He is our middle level social studies teacher. He comes from Wisconsin. So Brittany's cheering silently, or maybe not. A fellow Wisconsin, I don't know what you call him, Wisconsinite in our district. He went to the University of Wisconsin. He moved to New Hampshire last year, and he's been teaching at Berrytown this year, social studies middle level. So he comes with about six years of experience, and excellent recommendations, and we're really excited to have him join the team. The other hirings we're still working on. We have K support staff interviews this week, Thursday afternoon, and then Katie and lots of special educators, principals when they can, are still working on special ed case manager interviews. So I think you'll have to take action on this, and I don't know if you want to do that now or later. I think it might be on the agenda later to take action on.
Why don't we can do it later.
You want to do it later? Okay. COVID updates. Here's what I know. David might have more information. We're going to end the year with current restrictions in place. It looks like next year, because we are at such a high vaccination rate in the state, I think we're at 75%, I heard this morning, things will probably look pretty normal next year. That's what we're thinking. So we're going to be able to move furniture back to rooms. You know, teachers have really been asking if kids are going to be able to work in small groups and share materials. That looks like it's going to happen unless, you know, things change. Thinking that masking will likely be in place for a bit in the fall because students may not be vaccinated. All students may not be vaccinated by then, but that's, you know, that's maybe up in the air. David, is there anything else you want to add to COVID updates?
No, I think you covered it. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of it'll be, a lot of it'll depend on the AOE guidance again. We'll get AOE and VDH guidance, and it's dribbling out now, but it's not out in full. But the general consensus is exactly as Christine stated. I think the real issue will be with those kids under the age of 12, and we know that kids that age don't transmit that easily, but the bottom line is we have still had to quarantine classrooms because of students contracting, you know, or transmitting at home, and then the fear of bringing it to school. So I think that there will be some level of masking, like Christine said, to begin, and then we'll kind of follow the bouncing ball and see how we make out. What we don't want to do is be quarantining classrooms every other week, and I mean, that is so disruptive, and I know that Christine's dealt with it. Every one of our buildings has dealt with it, and it's. I think sometimes it's better to be a little safe than to get into that remote option stuff and having to quarantine. But I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I didn't add here, but you know, obviously hand washing and, you know, cleaning will also still be in place.
Yeah.
Is that a question or somebody? I heard.
No, that was Beth, and Beth's comment. It's a good comment. Go ahead, Beth, if you want to make.
No, I just said. I mean, our family's had no colds, no stomach bugs, like
no strep throat.
Masking is fine. Like that's not.
It's been great. I agree. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah. And I think that call-in person is Nikki. That's her number.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Nikki was going to try to call in. Yeah. Okay. So just recovery planning, looking ahead to next year. That was on my task to-do list for tonight. So we have been meeting with, as an administrative team, with key stakeholders, you know, boards, parents, teachers, and we are planning to shift the dismissal by a few minutes to allow for both collaborative practices to continue to happen and to extend the school day a little bit to allow for kids to be in school longer and to kind of help mitigate that after school issue that families are expressing. So we were going to dismiss anywhere from, I think, I mean, I had said 2:05 to 2:15. I know some schools had said 2 to 2:15. It takes us about 10 minutes. So we are going to shift that to 2:15, go until about 2:25. That's the hope. And then get teachers back in the building. They are involved in dismissal. So it gives them a couple minutes to be where they need to be to start their professional learning community meetings or collaborative practice meetings at 2:30. And that'll give us 45 minutes. It reduces the day for Heartland by about 20 minutes. We were pre-COVID done with dismissal by 2:45. So it does shorten the day a little bit, but a little bit less than what we had planned previously. So I did meet with John at the rec. He is able to support students and families at that time, which was a question last time. And I did meet with Mrs. Barrett, Ray Barrett, and she is more than willing to continue offering homework club for grades 5 through 8. And, contractually, she's in the building until 3:45. We may be able to adjust her time so that we can extend it until 4. Or, in the past, she was paid additional time for homework club. So we can work that out. Now, another thing that she did, and she's more than willing to do, is on game days, she will run that program a little bit later. So if kids need supervision between school and a game, she's more than willing to do that, which I think is really helpful. So that's our, and it keeps the kids from, not all kids, but from going to the library. And I know the library has been available in the past, but this is a nice place, supervised. They can do their homework, get some help. Miss Barrett, I don't know if you know her, but she loves reading and instills a love of reading in children and buys many books out of her own pocket for kids. And, if you walk into homework club, some days kids are just laying on the floor reading, which is wonderful to see. So we're feeling pretty good about that.
I just have a quick question, Christine. So as contracted staff, like all the teaching staff need to stay till 3:45 or whatever it is.
3:15.
3:15. And so then how about the contracted staff? I'm just picturing because I know John gets a lot of his staff from staff at the school. So is he going to be able to, are those staff members going to be able to leave and go to the rec and stuff like that?
That's the hope. That's the plan. So I have 3 people to meet with. So it's interesting that the teacher contract is 7.5 hours. Support staff varies between 7 and 8 hours. And that, I don't know why that is. It's just the way that it is. We've talked about kind of streamlining that. This didn't feel like the year to do it. So Miss Barrett has, a contract that allows her to stay until 3:45. The staff that work at the rec, our hope is, to work their contracts so that they start and end in time for them to go and support that program. So it's just a matter of looking at it and figuring it out. But John has expressed that he will need them. And because some are special ed support staff, Katie and I have to work out those details as well. But that is the hope, Beth, that we can do that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the flexibility and creativity here. I think, I think this is going to be really good for families and kids. And I just really appreciate the willingness to work on it and kind of work some things out.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think it's a win-win. I think, staff definitely need the time to work together, but we have to support our kids and families too. So it feels like a win for everyone.
So 2 things. Do you feel like the 10 minutes that stretch is going to help parents feel better about the schedule?
I think so. It's about a 20-minute difference from pre-COVID, which I think is manageable. I think with the rec being open and willing, I think that eases some stress that parents also have.
Great.
Yeah.
And then you said special ed teachers going to the rec.
So we have some crossover. Some of our support staff members, special ed and regular ed, they work at school. And then when their day is done, they go to the rec and they work at the rec. So
Well, I know there have been some concerns about not having some special ed. There was some special ed need at the rec after school, and they're not feeling like they were equipped to handle some of the kids that they had. And is that intent? Does this help that, or is it just coincidental?
This is not staff that work specifically with particular children, if that's what you're asking. This is
Okay.
staff that are contracted by the rec to go and support all kids. But I will say a benefit of having that crossover is staff know the kids pretty well and have strategies to help with student supports. But
Right.
they're not specifically assigned to kids. And I hear maybe a question.
Yeah, that was Scott. And I also thought maybe Katie could, and I know it's complicated, but
Yep.
explain sort of the after school rules, because this comes up all the time, right? With people who are accessing childcare programs, rec programs, just plain after school programs. And, you know, you've got these kids that have, some of them that have these one-on-ones all day.
Right.
And then there's some expectation that that's going to transfer into the after school program. And it just doesn't always work that way. So Scott, I don't know if you want to ask your question first, or Katie wants to just talk a little bit about that responsibility. And I do think this year the intent is to try to help out a little bit more, because, you know, we've heard that from all of those providers, essentially.
Right. That's why I was asking the question. Thank
Yeah.
you, Katie, for talking about it. But yeah, it's needed. I'm sure there are parents that really need that after school help, even when their kid has a one-on-one.
Yeah, I was just going to double check, because we're right on the heels of the supervisory union meeting last week, and just I didn't hear it distinctly, but can you help me, Christine? This is a brand new look, timing wise, for the whole SU's approach to recovery next year.
Yes.
Okay.
We all met actually I think it was last week, and we listened to our staff, listened to parents, listened to school board members, and decided that we would be able to do we hope we'll be able to do the work we need to do in 45 minutes instead of an hour at the end of each day. So yes, lengthen the day a little bit closer to what it was. I think in one community they dismissed at 2:25 pre-COVID.
Actually, yeah. In two of the communities, it's the exact same time, but yeah.
Well, I'm not finding fault, and it's too early for me to to digest it and say anything out loud like what I think about it. I just wanted to clarify that that's what this report was. I do think that, Christine, you put it really well at the SU meeting, and I just wanted to repeat that I mean, you put it simply, but I don't mean that it's a simple topic. But you said, you reminded people, and there was a number of people on that meeting, as you recall, at the SU meeting last week. But you reminded folks that how difficult it is to get all staff together collaborating in the middle of the day when you have rooms full of students.
Right.
It's just a simple truth, but it may be sometimes it may be lost on community sometime. I mean, I'm not suggesting that, but it's just something that's worth repeating, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. And you put it is simple. You can't have people all together in the middle of the day. It's impossible. And supervise and support and whatever needs to happen with students. It's just
right. Supervising the students. That's what you said. And that's so well put. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right. Katie, you wanted to respond?
I can, and I think I have the next slide after this, or close to it coming up. So in terms of special education support staff supporting students at the rec, what we're looking at doing is making sure that they are available to go to the rec, but they would need to be employed by the rec. So arranging their schedules to happen. One of the tricky things is if the program was being held at school, which implies being sponsored by school, then we are legally obligated to provide what supports that student may need, which can look really different than what happens academically during the school day. It doesn't always equate. Sometimes we've seen programs that say, well, they have a one-on-one at school, they can't come here unless they have a one-on-one. And I'm always that person who says we need to have the conversation of what the student needs. But where it's really clear in the special ed rules, we can't provide after school para support, but we certainly can help make sure that if that's needed, having conversations, getting releases, things like that. And sometimes it is the same staff. It just has to be a different funding source for rec departments. And we're trying to make sure we can do it as collaboratively as possible, but also having our parameters. It gets us into interesting uncharted territory. So I never want to do the absolutes of you can't. It's just like, so how can we support and figure it out? And as Christine said, many of the folks that do decide to work at the rec after school, we're able to finagle their schedules so that they start earlier in the day and they ride the buses, so they're free at 2:15 to do so. And then we can then help support that way. So not the most direct line, but at least being able to support those students that are able to go to the rec after. I don't know if that helps, Colleen.
It does. I'm really glad to hear this. I just appreciate the effort of, I think, a couple of years ago that John was feeling kind of at a loss, and it's just nice to know that you're thinking in terms of support. I get the difficulties between, that makes sense to me. I'm just glad it's on your mind. You're collectively, our minds.
Yep. No problem.
All right, Katie, you ready for your next slide?
I'm ready. I won't even mute again.
Okay.
So speaking of collaborative models, we're now hitting the, I think we're in the 40-mile-per-hour zone. We've been hanging out in the 25 miles, sort of getting things ramped up from behind the scenes. This week, we have, as of the last 36 Heartland students attending, not including the incoming kindergartners. We have 15 incoming Ks coming. I just didn't figure out which schools they're all coming from yet. So that's, I'll have solid numbers by the next time you meet. In the afternoon, Heartland Rec, the HCRS camp, or home. I know many of you have probably seen the emails from Dr. Baker or others that we've sent out, despite really best efforts of trying to do our own afternoon, BTG trying to do an afternoon, other agencies, there's not enough staff to go around to get an afternoon program up and running. And that was very disappointing. We've heard from families from all of the schools that was disappointing. We lost some students because of it, because we couldn't do full-time, all-day care. We've learned what we might be able to do differently next year. But we share in the disappointment, but also share in the fact that rec departments and child care centers and other camps are having a lot of difficulty finding staff too. It's not like it's just us. Families for Heartland will drop off their kiddos in the morning about 8. We'll bus them over to Windsor. If they're going to go to Heartland or HCRS camp, we will take care of them to either get them to Heartland or transition to HCRS camp, or we'll drop them back off in Heartland. We leave about 11:30ish, and we'll be back to Heartland about 11:45, 12 o'clock, give or take, lunch dismissals and fun. This week, we're meeting with all the summer academy staff and bringing them up to speed, getting them ready to go. We haven't done classroom assignments. I know we've had families reach out wanting to know particulars about who their teacher will be this summer and things like that. We are still getting the final paperwork from parents confirming attendance. We asked for it back last week. We're getting some trickling in. We've had some changes, which means so far no changes in staff today, but we had changes up until Thursday of last week in staffing as well as with kids. So we don't want to tell parents that your kid's going to be in Mrs. Ledoux's classroom when Mrs. Ledoux might now teach 3rd grade because there weren't enough 2nd graders or something. So, but we have a good timeline for that and are pretty excited. I think we're closer to, we had gotten up to about 98 students total. I think we are closer to 85 at the last count, give or take how many of the younger ones we have coming, pre-K and K. So that is the latest that I've got. If anybody has any questions.
Okay, doesn't sound like any. So I'll move on.
No, but I do want to thank Katie because this was hours and hours of planning, and the two coordinators, and it was so disappointing. We were trying right up until last Friday to work with agencies to see if we could provide something in the afternoon, and I just feel bad. I think we overpromised, and people are still, people are exhausted, and agencies are finding it hard to find people still to work. I mean, I don't know if that's because of the COVID environment or unemployment. I don't know, but they were just really stuck. So I want to thank you, Katie, for giving it your best shot.
Yeah, I don't know what you can do if there's nobody to hire, if you can't get somebody to come.
And I want to, and Angie has been a huge help with this. It's been the four of us. I want to be mindful that we have a lot of staff that want to travel this summer to see family they haven't seen or spend at least half of their day with their families. And I want to honor the fact that we have to give them that mental health break too. And we have a lot of staff an awful lot of staff actually, who are still working the 5 weeks, and a handful that will be helping out with HCRS in the afternoon. I think there's 5 right now that still wanted to work full time, but not enough to run our own program in the afternoon for the number of kids and the needs of the students. But that was mostly the feedback we got, was from folks that said they need their time and space too. So I'm very, very, very pleased with everyone who is taking the time they need for themselves, as well as the folks that are able to work Summer Academy. I think everybody has made good choices.
All right. Thank you, Katie.
Can I just pop in here for a second? I just wanted to say that one of the advantages over this Summer Academy than what we've been able to previously offer in general ed is the length of this program. In general ed, I think the most we've offered maybe 4 days a week for 3 weeks at Heartland, which is 12 days. Mm-hmm. This Summer Academy is twice the length. And so that's one of the reasons why we're encouraging full participation from all families. We have had to turn away families that were going to be gone for a couple weeks of vacation or could only come a couple days a week, because we are really going to be looking at our data to see that the activities that we're providing are helping support our students. We will be assessing them at the beginning of the Summer Academy, and then when they come back to school in the fall, they will take the fall Track My Progress. So we're taking the summer Track My Progress at the beginning of the academy, and then the fall Track My Progress in September, but also just the assessments that the teachers come up with as they're planning their curriculum will also be a form of data to show that our efforts are actually helping students recover some of their learning deficits.
All right, thanks, Angie. Okay, the last part of my presentation is the schedule that we've been working on, and I will present it. It's pretty detailed, so I will do my best to walk you through the parts that I think are most easily understood, I guess. So this is a copy of the schedule we've been working with throughout the SU, actually. And I did take off this class list and whatnot, so it's partial. So it's divided into K4 and 5-8. You'll see the first tab is the K4 teacher schedule. So this really isn't completed because the teachers themselves in K4 fill in when they're teaching their ELA social studies block, their math science blocks. What this shows is when they have their specials and which ones are being co-taught. So you'll see, for example, in kindergarten in Miss Fugay's class next year, her kids will have PE at 11:45 to 12:30. She will have the Spanish teacher in her room co-teaching for a block during the day as well on Monday. So it just shows basically the related art schedules, and the teachers will fill in the rest of it later. What's really important for the K4 teachers is that they have similar related art schedules. I know for some teachers like Miss Brooks and Miss Kramer, they are planning to co-teach completely next year. So first grade will be together. One teacher will be leading the lesson, the other supporting. They're going to be using both classrooms for stations. They're very excited about their plan. So it was critical that their related arts schedules line up as best we could get them to do so. So it's pretty close. They went so far as to, because it was tricky, they've asked the PE teacher, Miss Stever, if they didn't have the same schedule on Wednesdays for PE. And Miss Stever has agreed to take both first grades together with adult support so that could be the same. So there's lots of little details and intricacies that might not look really important, but they really are important in making the schedule work smoothly. So this is K4. You'll see there's book exchange in here because that is when kids are going to go to the library and exchange books. The other part of library STEAM is going to be the integrated part, which is not reflected in this particular schedule, but you will see it in Tina's schedule, in the library schedule. So that's K4. This is just another version. Oh, sorry, I don't know what that noise was. I hope it wasn't me.
Sorry.
That's okay. This is K4 with when the teachers have lunch, when they have duty, if they're a person that crosses into the 5-8 pod, that you might see them listed here because I had to block their time out so I wouldn't put them somewhere else. So it's like a big giant puzzle. And who they're going to have partnered with them. So you might see, for example, K1 interventionist Jenny Knight. She is partnered with Miss Kramer for the beginning of the day and the end of the day, because that was important feedback that we got from teachers, as much as we can partner them, especially for the morning meeting time, which is a part of responsive classroom, really setting the stage for the day, building relationships, doing that social emotional support, as well as embedding academics into that time. It's wonderful to have a second person. So we've been able to work that out across the board. 5-8, this is a similar schedule. I think it probably makes most sense for me to go to the student schedule with you to show you that, but I just want to point out, let me see. So if you look at Tina, Library STEAM, she's got book exchange for every grade level within the week. She has what's called IDL, which is interdisciplinary learning, those interdisciplinary units. K4 blocked out daily, you'll see. It's separated out by homeroom or cohort in 5-8. And she's really excited to collaborate with these with all the teachers on interdisciplinary teaching and learning, which will embed STEAM, which will embed research skills, library skills within the units. She's working out with the teachers in K4 when that happens. It's embedded in her schedule 5-8 because they just have a different schedule that they live by. The next tab is the teacher schedule, which shows you what they're teaching. In 5-8, you can see we've blocked out math and science. So Mr. Butts and our new science teacher, they'll have 8th grade in a core 90-minute block, which allows them to separate the 2 8th grade homerooms and teach their own specific content, if that makes sense. And it allows them to work together to co-teach as well during that time. Same with social studies and ELA. At a different core in the day, depending on which grade level you're in. Interdisciplinary is embedded, and on Fridays there will be win time for kids, which is that what I need time, which is when they'll get. I'm going to go back to this tab because I think it shows it better if I can go to Friday. So it's a time when teachers can work with kids to do some support, to reteach something, to answer questions, just to get extra help. Because we were kind of given the schedule of the shortened day was not Spanish every day. We've worked with the Spanish teacher to offer language lab, which will those kids that choose to really want to go further in Spanish will have the opportunity to do that with her. What else is in here? Let me see. Band and chorus is during this time, so kids aren't gonna have to miss recess or lunch. And I was able to work with Jamie to embed band. Let me just look at her schedule here. During morning meeting time. So kids might have to miss morning meeting once a week, but they won't have to miss their break or their lunch, which was important, because that does take away kids often don't choose band because they don't want to miss recess. So we worked that out. This is the related arts teacher schedule. So it tells you where they are and what they're teaching and when. And you can feel free to kind of look through that. Some of them are not filled because obviously the school counselor is going to fill this with sessions with students. Same with our SEL guidance teacher. She has SEL classes in her schedule, but time for also to do counseling and 504s and the other things that are on her, that are a part of her job. And then the student schedule, I did the 5/8 student schedule so you could see it. The great thing about partnering, giving every teacher a partner teacher or support staff or whoever we could partner them with, they are going to divvy up the break and lunch duty. So one of them will have lunch with their class and one will be on break duty or recess duty with the students. So it's a lot and you may need to kind of look at it and digest it. But I'm happy to take some questions if you have any off the top of your head now. I will say, when we added the end of the day few minutes last week when we made that decision, I was actually pretty excited by that. And David said, oh my goodness, we're gonna have to rework the whole schedule. And potentially, if teachers want to add a little more time to the cores, we could look at doing that. But it's really nice at the end of the day, it's part of Responsive Classroom to have that end of day kind of reflection. What did we learn? What did we do well? It's part of an advisory system, and we haven't really been able to do that in the past. The schedule didn't work that well to support that. And so I'm pretty excited that we can have a few minutes at the end of the day to circle up, reflect, go over what kids need to do when they get home, kind of help them plan, work with them on those executive skills that sometimes they're still developing. So that was exciting to me because I know how important that is for kids. So that is the schedule in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions? Or anyone have any questions?
I saw on your report, Christine, that's is that a link that we can open?
It is, yeah. So
Okay.
you can take a look at it. It's a lot to digest in just a few minutes. So
Thank you.
yeah, you can take a look and we can come back to it. I think the feedback from staff is they're pretty excited about the simpleness of the schedule. It's consistent for kids day to day. Friday's a little bit different, but that's where they're going to do. They're going to have some win time, which is also important, and some interdisciplinary work in 5/6. So it is pretty exciting that it's consistent across days, if that makes sense. But if you want to take a look at it, it looks like I didn't actually fix this. I was just noticing one of my mistakes here. I was working on it yesterday, and this is not 5th grade interdisciplinary. It's 7th grade, so I'll have to fix that. But any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I'm going to unpresent myself or stop presenting. I will say it's really nice having a schedule ready before August 30th.
Yeah.
Like we were doing last year at the last minute.
That's an improvement.
Mhm.
And I know it's not easy too. I know what you just went over is it represents, again, a ton of hours of work. And to be honest, Christina has, provided some leadership this year across the SU around how to make this unified day work. The unified day is brand new. I mean, it used to be that each building just worked it out. And we wanted to make sure, and that's why we fought so hard for unified day, that, we had times to, like, you could have a third grade meeting across the SU if all the third grade teachers wanted to get together. We had transportation issues. We've got shared staff. So it was really critical to make this work. And again, I think your staff has really responded well. And I think that with the addition of those minutes, I'm just hoping that we had one school district, Weathersfield, that was really struggling a bit with it just because it looked a little different. But I think with the changes we've made, and if we can explain it, we have another meeting tomorrow with the union presidents. I think we'll be okay. And I agree that time at the end of the day to come back and, help with work, review the day. Anybody have any questions? I think that's going to be really helpful. K right through 8. That's my thought.
Great. David, do you want to move on to the superintendent's report?
Yeah, and there's really not too much to it because again, we tend to cover a lot in the principal's report, but I will just make three quick pieces. One, I want to thank the rec department and John Lennon and Brittany for the work that went on with the spring sports season. And I know that it was a little bit controversial at first because we hadn't done it before, but the feedback from parents and the feedback from kids, at least those who participated, was pretty positive. And I think what we really have to do now, and I'm looking at Brittany because I haven't touched base with her in a while. We did send out a survey to parents about next fall. Certainly, if all schools have enough numbers to run a good solid soccer program or a good solid cross-country program, then they should run that program. But if not, and we've got to make that decision, reasonably soon into the summer, then we may want to partner again. So I don't know, Brittany, whether if you've had a chance to look at that data yet, or to see whether or not we're getting good. Are we getting some good turnout from kids saying they're gonna?
Yeah, we have quite a bit. I mean, you can only take it so far just because it's early and but we can at least use preliminary numbers. I was going to try to pull it up real quick, but it might take me longer than I intended. So
that's fine. I
have
think we may
133 responses though, which is fantastic across the SU good. For athletics. Some programs are specific to Windsor, like bass fishing or field hockey. Those will only be there, but the numbers are looking really good, which is great. So
no, that's good. And then what we'll do is we'll do the puzzle piece and we'll put it together and see what we could run locally and what we might run. I mean, because the bottom line is this is about opportunities for kids, and you'd hate to see a kid, I don't care if it's in Heartland or Weathersfield or Windsor, not play soccer because they weren't enough. And I know that sometimes people will say, well, then they can just go anywhere they want to play. Well, not all kids can go anywhere they want to play because it means traveling, right? I mean, not everybody's got the wherewithal to get to Woodstock or to get to, Springfield. And so you have to be careful about how you do that. But again, I want to thank Brittany for the help she's put into that. We met with the athletic directors, I think every other week pretty much. And the other nice thing is they formed a little bit of a partnership now too, which is helpful. So that's been positive in terms of working together. Did you have another?
David, I can say for soccer, I was just looking at it. Our girls' numbers are borderline, but I think okay for Heartland. Boys is pretty not as great as I thought it was going to be. But I think that's where David was talking about, like Weathersfield has, like 4. And so if ours are just close, to not quite being there, we could add 4 players pretty easily from Wethersfield and make a great team. Anything could change between now and next year, but it's looking good so far.
So I think it's really more about the boards, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it tonight, but I think all 3 district boards have to decide whether or not this partnering is a good idea, essentially. And because the truth is, if there's one board that doesn't want to do that, then the other 2 districts could do it. It would. It's just kind of, it's always more about all rather than just some, and that's where we start, and then we'll see. So we'll present those numbers at a future, probably sometime. If I had to guess, we'll probably do it in July, and then make some decisions about the fall. The other piece I wanted to mention that Christine didn't mention is that we continue to move forward with our anti-racism policy and our anti-racism and equity work in the district. That task force has been meeting regularly. Colleen is on that task force along with all the administrators, and Nikki Buck is on that task force, and that has been incredibly productive. Dr. Melissa Crum, who works with us, has brought incredible amount of insight to that work, and we do get homework assignments every time we meet. We got a pretty extensive one this time, which is going to require us to get into small groups and actually kind of map that policy out over time. And I thought one of the things that she said that really made sense to me, I hadn't really thought about it, but in order to understand anti-racism, you have to really understand racism, because you can't be anti something you don't completely understand. So we've spent a lot of time unpacking racism from both a historical perspective and from a current perspective, and it's been absolutely enlightening. And I'm hoping, and I don't know, Colleen, how you feel about this, or the other administrators, I'm hoping we get the opportunity to stay with her a little while into next year, because I think she's got that insight. And we do have, we have the ESSA money and we've got some money in there for an equity coordinator. We could always think about maybe doing that more on a consultant basis than on going out and just hiring somebody till we really know what we're looking for. And so it's for me, it's been eye-opening, because I thought, well, anti-racism, okay, we just, who's not for that? Apple pie. But it's kind of like it's a much more complicated than I think we originally presumed. And then the last thing, and then if you got questions, certainly I just want to, Scott, and we can talk a little more if we want to have a quick executive session tonight, but we are still moving forward with negotiations. We meet, we've met weekly. We meet at least weekly or every other week. We took the next 2 weeks off just because just way too much going on with, everything from proms to graduations to, all that stuff. So we're going to meet again toward the end of June. We are getting to the point, though, where we're going to have to, as they say in the card business, hold them or fold them. But I feel optimistic, and I think the negotiators, Jackie Antonovich from Wethersfield, Scott from Heartland, and Bill Yates from Mount Escutney have done a great job. So we'll keep you posted, and hopefully, either by the end of June or not too far into July, we can settle this and have a contract. That's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I have an opinion or a statement, but I thank you for that. Thank you. And I hesitate a little bit to make too much of this, but it really hits home, I think. And you spoke well about the sports program. Excuse me. And, you said clearly, not all kids can get together and go to another school. And so, this is what it's about. And last week, the SU board, passed the equity policy, and, it clearly it clearly outlines, acknowledging and disrupting inequitable practices. And that's now a policy that we have in this SU. And if that means getting together so we can properly offer an opportunity at athletics, getting together between local districts, it makes all the sense. And it's policy now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, you said it very well, David, that not all students and families can make those arrangements. And so it's up to the district and the directors and the educators to come up with sustainable and built-in systems that deliver this public education that we promise to everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right, Scott.
Yeah, I would actually love to see it extended to enrichment activities beyond sports, because, if they're doing great, I don't know, coding club at one school, it would be great if other students could access it or whatever it may be.
And I think we can, the sports this spring snuck up on us, and we really worked hard to try to pull it together. And the piece that we left out a little bit was figuring out transportation, but I think we could work that piece out. We did do a little bit of it, but I think we could do a lot more of it. And we've got control over our transportation system. And if we make a commitment to it as 3 districts, then we can make that happen. And because I think that a lot of times for a lot of kids, it is about transporting. And, that's where Nikki is tonight. She's watching her children, at an athletic event. Well, we all know that that's not always the case with kids. They just don't have the wherewithal to get to make that happen. So, and Scott, I didn't make the last SU meeting, but, thanks for reminding us that we now have that policy, the weight of policy behind us that talks about opportunity and access, for all students. And I think we just have to, we have to live by that, and it's going to be hard at times. There'll be some tough conversations, but I think those are the conversations that are best had at the board level, and we'll have them, and we'll decide how we want to move forward. I think that's it. I don't know. Sarah, what's next on the agenda?
Next, we have legislative update. Do we have, I know at one point we talked about having Elizabeth and John come and talk to us, but I assume they are not here tonight. So is there, do you have a legislative update, David?
No. So I think what we should do, because I think it would be best coming from them, and they'd be willing to do that. It just wasn't going to work out, perfectly tonight. So I think if we either at our retreat or at another meeting, we do that, I think it would be good. And I think they would be better to summarize the session than I would. I think the big one for Heartland was the hold harmless on the spending threshold. That's going to help out quite a bit. But there were also a couple of things at the end that also faded fast. And I think Elizabeth and John would be best to describe those to us. So I'll reach out to them again. Once we decide when we're going to meet again, I'll reach out to them again, even if one of them could come.
Great. And then the board retreat, it looks like our next scheduled meeting would be, does anybody have a calendar right there?
Yeah, I do. What do we meet? We meet the
first Tuesday now.
July 6th.
Yeah, that would be July 6th. That would be the opening day for Summer Academy.
Great. Yeah, and of course, looking at it, I have something that evening, a book event. I'm sorry about that. But if that's the date, I will, I may have to miss or see. But would that be the day for the retreat, or do we do the retreat on a different day? I can't remember.
Well, sometimes we've had the retreat be the July meeting, right? So we figure that out. We get a date that works for everybody. And I even remember, because it's July, that we've sent out doodle polls and tried to figure out what works for everybody. And we also try to make it a little more extended, right? We've done everything from sharing a meal to, doing a Saturday morning. I mean, we can do whatever the board pleases, but that could take the place of that July 6th meeting. So I know Lori would certainly be willing to help out with a doodle poll if that's what we want to do, and just look at, days. We've got 4 board members on here now, so, and we don't have to do it right this second, but we could look at days that are going to work for folks in July, and then that could replace that meeting on the 6th.
On the 6th, great. Yeah, because that week, maybe a lot of people travel that week of the 4th, or have, it's a tough week. Nikki's here. I'll turn it over to you, Nikki.
Hey,
We're
Nikki,
retreat.
Yeah, you came at the right time. We're just trying to figure out, July 6th would be our next regular meeting, Nikki, but it doesn't look like that's going to work for a few people. So if we could schedule a board retreat on a day other than the 6th that works for everybody, and again, it's summertime, so we could extend it. I know we've started at 4 or 4:30 and had potluck and the whole 9 yards. It just depends on what everybody wants to do. We're trying to get Nikki's sound. You're still muted, I think, Nikki.
Yeah, turn that off. Okay.
Now you got it.
That would be why when I said, does anybody else want to weigh in? Nobody weighed in.
There you go.
Does anybody have any thoughts or opinions? I really am up for anything. The 6th is also not ideal for me. So
the whole month of July is pretty good for the administrators, I think.
I think outside the school worked well last year.
I see Christine shaking her head no.
Well, we have our retreat the week of the 12th, and then I'm at Waddington the last week in July.
So when we started talking about this last time, we talked about trying to be before or after your retreat, and I can't remember what we wanted to do before.
I thought we said after, Nikki.
Okay, so that would be the week of the 26th. So we would go a ways without having a meeting.
I'm away the week of the 26th for my Waddington Leadership Academy.
Oh, okay, so but then the board retreat is what is the admin retreat?
Yeah,
no, you could meet the week of the 19th, Nikki.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay.
It looks like the week of the 19th, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, possibly.
Any board members have an opinion?
Anybody that can't meet
that week?
What? Yeah, I can do the poll that week. Yeah. Okay. So I'll do the poll them on the week of the.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't get to again with my mute button. I'm on vacation that week.
Oh,
we'll be in Illinois. So far away.
The week of the 19th.
Be in person.
I mean, you don't have to schedule and you know, I could catch up, I'm sure.
What do we think, Christine, what do you think the advantage is of going after the admin retreat? I mean, I know we'll learn stuff, but we could learn that at our August board meeting as well.
That was it. I mean, it can be before. I was just thinking, like, if we're going to do a lot of work at the admin retreat, we could report it out and connect it to our local work. But I think either is fine, Nikki.
Okay. Is everybody around the week of the 4th? Like if we pushed it to later in the week? Or are people traveling?
Yep. The 6th is not good for me, but I'm around that week.
Of July, are you saying?
Yeah.
We're camping that week.
Okay. Oh, so that's where. Okay. So when is the
Sorry.
admin?
I mean, I think that's it.
Is that all week?
It's the 12th through the 14th.
Okay.
So I guess we could, right, Angie? 12th through the 14th. We come back the 14th, or we stay over that night.
No, we're done the 14th.
So it could be the 15th.
Not to hone in on a
Or 16th?
I can do that.
I can't do the 16th.
I can do the 15th.
15th? 15th looks good to me.
Does that overwhelm you,
Yeah, I can do the 15th.
administrators? Is that like too much for your families?
No, I think I can make it work. I mean, I think it's more important that the 5 board members can be there.
Are we talking after hours, like in the evening?
Yeah.
In person?
Yeah.
I just need to deal with some childcare coverage.
Okay.
But I can make that one.
So Nikki, are you thinking about, or are we thinking about going back to sort of the potluck, or?
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can figure out more details later, but let's hone in on the 15th. And we previously met at like 4:30, but Beth, that might be difficult. Like what times work?
For me?
Yeah, well, for everybody, but.
No, I just have it like Samara and Chris is volunteering from 4 to 8 p.m. that night, so I just need to find some place to put Silas.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Scott sometimes has afternoon responsibilities, but I
Yeah.
think we can 5 to 9 or 4:30 to 9.
Yeah, I mean, while we still have daylight hours, it's nice. And I'm into being outside or under one of those shelters at the school, or I know we don't have a place yet, but that earlier would be warmer.
Yeah. Okay, so let's aim for 4:30 on the 15th, and we'll leave the location to be determined.
Do you want me to send out like a tentative invite for that?
Yeah, if you could send out an invite, that would be good. And I'm going to admit that I'm glad that we're not meeting on the 6th, because I couldn't figure that day out. Christine, what'd you have to say?
I was just going to confirm we're not meeting on the 6th. So, but you just said that. So
yes, because I can't figure out how to make that work. So, okay. So that checks off the board retreat. I think I missed legislative updates in the cell phone no man's land. Is there anything else?
We're going to wait until we can hear from John and Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I could invite them on the 15th if you want to spend a half an hour with them, just kind of going over legislative stuff. But why don't you let me know that, Nikki? And
yeah. Okay, let's figure something out.
Yeah, I just had some other business, and I was 15 minutes late myself, Nikki. So I apologize, board members, for missing the other business part of the agenda. This week is really busy for me, so this would be one of those weeks where I need someone to do the warrant signing, or at least be available from about now through next Tuesday, including next Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday.
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
So how does that work? Will you let me know, David, Lori?
Well, I can email Gail. And
yeah,
tell her
you let Gail. Yeah,
that you'll take it for the week, and when she reaches out, she'll reach out to you.
Awesome, that works. I can handle it.
Okay. And I don't know if I have. This isn't the right place for the SU thing, but usually the SU responsibilities are less. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for.
And the one more thing, David mentioned the legislative update, and I think that was, I got to say that in regards to that, I don't know what you want to call it, but putting the overspending penalties on the shelf for a couple of years. And I know there are other districts, and perhaps ours as well, are feeling that. I think it's unfortunate that particular piece of rulemaking, I guess you'd say, has become a political football, and it's kind of part of the system. There's not a lot of checks in the checks and balances basket, and that's one of them. And I think it's too easy for school districts and across our state to forget that we have a statewide property tax that treats all areas of the state and all taxpayers as fairly as we can, we think. And as far as, that weighting study is really an instrument within or part of that discussion or equalized pupil system that always is accounting for students in the lens of a 3-year average. That's what I'm trying to say. And so it's unfortunate to focus on, hey, we've got a lot of students that we weren't accounting for, and we have to come up with this tuition money, and it's really a bugaboo for us. But on the other end of that formula, after those students are with you for several years and then they start to graduate, you still get to earn. The district earns from their past existence in the formula. And so,
but you never get the penalties back. That's the rub. It's not like they give you money at the end. They penalize you when you increase your student count, and then you keep that student count, and so you still have them on the books, but they don't ever give you the money back for.
Well, they do give you the money back because it's the students are in that 3-year formula.
Right, but they don't give you the penalty back. You never get the penalty because they assess a penalty if you go over, and that just disappears.
What is the penalty?
That's a good question, Colin.
I think it's a double match of every dollar.
$1 for dollar, yeah. It's about $1 for dollar. I think it's
a $1 for dollar match. I think every dollar you're over the threshold.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, the legislators have, they agreed upon that at some point, and rule makers and the agency, and so I think it's kind of picking apart the system when you don't like it the way it treats you 1 year.
Well, but it's related to COVID. I mean, it was specifically out of the acknowledgement that COVID caused excess costs that none of us can control, because it was a global pandemic that is not a normal thing. And so I think that was the rationale behind getting rid of it. I mean, we had families move into the district because of COVID, and other districts had the same issue.
So, David, what are the limitations of using the federal COVID monies for regular spending in a school district? I know Ed and you have spoken about trying to mark certain spending as COVID related so that it would fall in that basket. Mm-hmm. What about extra tuition monies?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of limitations to how that federal money can be used. I mean, Sarah, you're right that some of it was COVID related in terms of people moving into the district, and the other piece that was a little tricky is a lot more people applied for homeschooling. And when you apply for homeschooling, you don't get counted into that student count. And they were worried about how that would impact the next couple of years, because remember, you're in that rolling 3-year average, right? So it all that formula sort of fits together. But I think more importantly, Scott, what they realized, not just in this 1 year, but when they went back and looked historically at how the equalized pupil formula was impacting certain districts, they realized that there had been some fundamental flaws in that formula from the very beginning, and they just never had time to stop the train and try to fix it. And even this year, they really didn't. I mean, they're really close. They've got the measures they want to take now to improve that equalized pupil formula, but they weren't ready to just fully 100% implement it, which is why they said, okay, we'll implement it over the next couple of years. And while we do that, we'll get rid of the hold harmless penalty so that nobody gets punished for an equalized pupil formula that we have recognized is wrong. And yeah, so I mean, it's, I think that's kind of what it all boiled down to. So we'll see. And I still think there's no perfect formula. And I think that next year you're going to see the legislature again wrestle with how to support, public schools, because it's a real issue. But both Weathersfield and Heartland took it on the chin with the, I forget which one took it worse, but it might have been Weathersfield actually. But you both took it hard with that penalty.
We took it hard the year before because of the penalty.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty, but.
And as far as your high school students, regardless of how you feel about, the tuition, I mean, it's the problem is they don't catch, you don't get the full dollar for dollar match. So let's say you have 10 high school kids move in over the summer. You'll get those counted, but they're going to be averaged in over that 3-year weighted average. So you're not going to get the full impact of those 10 kids. But guess what? You're going to pay the full tuition for those kids as they go to these other high schools. So it's a real catch-22.
So I see that we still have new hires on the agenda. Have we touched on that and I missed it?
Yeah, Christine's got that recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it during my report. We were going to take action now.
Okay.
But I can share. Last month, I don't know why, because I thought I had shared the month before that that we would like to hire Hayden Anderson for our social studies position. He comes from Wisconsin and comes with 6 years of middle level social studies experience. He's moved into the area, plans to stay, so we're excited to have him. Yeah.
Awesome. So does somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Colleen.
And seconded.
That was Beth. Yeah. Okay, all those in favor, or actually any further discussion? Sarah. You're muted. Oh, you're already in favor.
I jumped again.
Just flex pudding.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Okay. All those opposed and abstentions. Okay, so that was unanimous. Awesome, Christine. So you are done, and we've done all the business we need to do.
We are done. We have to hire. We have interviews for support staff this Thursday. So how does the board handle that? We won't be meeting until July.
Well, the good news about support staff is that by law, the board doesn't have to hire.
Okay.
That just happens administratively. I mean, we'll certainly FYI everybody around who's in the building and who's been hired, just, in case you trip over them next fall. But you don't, the only people you have to hire are the licensed certified people.
Awesome. Okay, so now we need to set the next agenda for, which would be the retreat. So let's see.
Would that be a good time to go to the radar list or no?
Yeah, I'd like to revisit the radar list. I'd like to set aside a lot of time for, I'm going to call it board healing. We haven't seen each other in 1.5 years. And so I feel like it'd be a good chance to get to know each other again. And I think we functioned really well remotely, but yeah, Sarah.
I just had a thought that I found that exercise that we did at a retreat a couple years ago, where we all talked about our own education experiences and sort of how we as children interface with our local educational systems. I found that really meaningful and helpful, and I feel like I know you all better because of it. And I wonder if a conversation about how the pandemic affected our what we learned about education during the pandemic, and the things that we saw in our own homes and in the community might be valuable.
I think you're right. That would be really valuable.
I should never be a homeschool mother.
Yeah, and I agree. It's funny, Sarah. I had the exact same thought at the exercise where we all ran around and talked about our school upbringing. So it's kind of.
Have we thought about location, Nicole, for the?
I am currently thinking about it. I'd love to do it at school, but there are also some benefits of getting away from school.
Exactly. I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Including celebration.
Yeah. So, okay, so we've got pandemic education lessons from board members or thoughts from board members. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to have all of the normal. I thought I was looking at the last agenda. I'm looking at the old one.
You could, yeah, you could do those little reports that we do. The other thing I think we should spend time on, Nikki, would be, goals. We can look at the strategic plan, but then how do those impact Heartland and Heartland's goals for next year? So we ought to have a section on that.
Yeah, and I'd also like to look at the strategic plan and line it up a bit with the radar list, because that's why we created the radar list, which we did before the strategic plan. So it would be nice to.
Yeah, I would love to think about some equity goals for the board. Because we have a policy now, but we don't really know how we're working that policy.
That'd be great. A great topic.
So we'll review the equity policy. I feel like that's a huge discussion. And that is what the retreat is for big, unfocused discussions. So what I have on my list is just our thoughts from board members on pandemic education, lining up the radar list and the strategic plan and really getting a handle on that, and then looking at equity goals, which I think will fall out of that. I think that that's a good workflow. Anything else? Oh, it's the 15th, July 15th at 4:30.
Yeah, and Christine, maybe we could do a little pre-work around lining up that radar list with the strategic plan and the recovery plan. We've got those three things sort of dancing out there. So. Yeah.
Do what you can, but I know you guys also deserve time off. I don't want to put anything else on anyone, but we'll figure it out. Okay, I'm just looking at a couple of different agendas to make sure that we have everything. And I think we do. We haven't gotten anywhere with the building committee.
Have you met? You haven't met.
No, we haven't met yet. It's on the to-do list. To be honest, we haven't had a lot of interest. We have Sarah, Nikki, myself, Jill Rubin, who's a community member. I did last week say, hey, Craig, it might be great for you to be part of this in some way. Maybe not fully invested, but around the thoughts around a different place for kids to eat or whatever that might look like. His input would be welcomed, needed, I think. So
yeah.
So he agreed to that. I don't know what your thoughts are on Jim Taft being part of that committee.
I think he's really valuable.
That would be good.
Yeah. So I did put that on his radar. He's knee deep in a whole bunch of stuff right now. So I thought after the school year's over would probably be a good time to get together. So maybe early.
I'll put it on there tentatively. And if we have an update, we have an update. And if we don't, we don't.
I got a question about that committee and just is one of the very first functions of the committee perhaps prioritizing that rough list of ideas that was shared along with the town meeting information?
it definitely could be. You know, I mean, I think I need a better understanding. Probably we all need a better understanding of it, you know, what exactly how much money is out there, because I think that, you know, kind of determines a lot. Are we better off going for our one top project, or should we have 4 projects ready? I just don't have a great sense of what the possibilities are, frankly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, the reason I brought it up was, I mean, I don't have kids in school anymore, and so I'm not in that conversation circle. But the the front entrance and the safety factors around that have really been what I thought was near the top of folks' thought list. And but there were a number of other things on the list that important in their own right that I was not so familiar with, and so I just thought that community process would involve kind of like hashing out, or explaining and perhaps like educating community about the needs, so just what those bullet items on that possible capital ideas, what they all represent.
Yeah,
I did. Oh,
go ahead, Sarah.
I was going to say, I did reach out to a couple of people who I thought might be good. And, I think it's very similar to staff not wanting to work in the summer. People are just exhausted. They want to go away. They want to be with their family. And so a number of people who said, I'm sort of interested, but not till September. So I don't know what to do with that, because I think we probably need to meet over the summer. And perhaps the question is, can just the 3 of us or the 4 of us meet and talk about it, or do we need to have the whole committee in place? I don't know.
It probably makes sense to get the ball rolling with a smaller group, flush out, because we have a list of things and we should flush them out and we should brainstorm a little bit, and then we can we'll at least make some progress, and some progress is better than no progress. And then hopefully we can pull in some more people and we would have more complete thoughts to get more discussion going. That's my thought on that.
Yeah, likewise, maybe 10 minutes at our retreat.
Yeah, I just put it on the list.
Yeah.
Were you able to recruit anyone from the Conservation Commission? Because isn't the trail high on the list?
Trail is part of that. I did not reach out to anyone on the conservation, but I could try that if people want me to do that.
I can walk downstairs and ask later.
That site plan is done. So we did some fundraising. So we have a site plan. It's just we don't have the money yet for that trail to be built. Mm-hmm. So I think in terms of shovel ready, if money comes down, the plan is the important piece to have. So this is what we want to do, and here's the site plan, and this is the cost. Mm-hmm. So I would say that is a priority but we have the site plan already, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And we do have the cost too, Christine, huh?
$170,000. Yeah.
Of course, that was before all the crazy construction cost increases. So it could be.
Double.
It could be more. Yeah. It's broken down into two phases. The first phase is 70,000. That's for the trail down. The second phase is the boardwalk. So, the priority is being able to get kids down there.
Did we ever put this plan out to the Upper Valley Trails Alliance?
We have we've been working with Jennifer Waite at National National Parks Trails Alliance. Mm-hmm. So if that's different from Upper Valley, then no, we haven't.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I just know Vince has used the Upper Valley Trails Alliance when they've had really crazy expensive trails that they needed to do. The way the Trails Alliance will do it, they will come in with like trail building experts, and then you recruit the volunteers and things like that to help do the muscle.
Okay.
And so I feel like a community project like this, we could probably provide a lot of muscle with the community members. And then you cut down the costs a lot.
I think that would have to go through the town manager.
Probably,
any volunteers that we use has to be, he has to be, or the select board has to make that decision. to my knowledge.
Yeah, and they have like the Trails Alliance has a great process for it and all that stuff because they don't want to be liable for things either.
Right. Nobody does.
But I can help make those connections if you like.
Yeah, that would be great, Beth. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, the more connections, the better. And we just recruited Lindsay. Okay. So right now, I missed who's taking notes today.
Nobody is.
So
we're gonna send the recording to Wendy.
Oh, okay. So Wendy, here's our agenda for the board meeting or for the retreat. We're going to have thoughts from board members on pandemic education, which is an open roundtable. And then we're going to have a radar list, strategic plan, matching session. We're going to discuss equity goals and how they fit in with our goals. And we'll have an update from the building committee and some discussion there. So now Wendy knows. Okay, so back to this agenda. David had mentioned a tentative executive session to update on negotiations. Did I hear that right on the phone?
Yeah, we did talk about that. The more I thought about it, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, Scott, but I mean, do you feel there's anything we need to talk about in executive session tonight?
No, I think you outlined it well.
Yeah, I think we're okay. I think we may have more to say in July if we either have a lot of success or we get stalled, and then I think we're going to need to really hunker down. But I think we're okay tonight.
Yeah.
Wow. So we're going to go for a record-setting meeting.
This is
This is good.
unprecedented.
Maybe it was because I wasn't here for.
No, it's because we had a meeting a week ago.
Yeah, I know. I think that's it. We had a meeting.
Yeah, that helped. Yeah.
It makes me rethink: should we have meetings more often and shorter, or is it better to have them long? Less and longer.
I'm going to go with kids' sports schedules and longer.
I like that.
Okay, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
I so motion that.
Followed by Sarah. Okay.
7:36 for Wendy's purpose.
Yes, 7:36. And thank you everybody for joining. It's good to see everybody. And
Angie and Christine, could you hang out just for a minute?
who?
Angie and Christine.
Okay, all those in favor of going and finding dinner, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
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 Thanks. Good luck, Sarah.
That was a good plan.
Katie,
Yes, good luck, Sarah.
Katie should hang on. Katie,
David, can you stop recording?
I will stop
But if
recording.
I didn't hear you, do I have to?
I
Katie,
think
you can hang. Katie,
this
you can
is
hang in there.
regarding next week's meeting.
Hold on. Let me stop recording.